one of the things I love about Bitcoin, and you in particular, is when people try to challenge Bitcoin, they literally, their challenges show you how little they know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you sent me this article.
Yeah.
Max Keiser takes founder and receives payback.
Right.
So this was Bitcoin maximalist Keiser critique Charles Hoskinson, whoever this guy. He created what? He's
something called Cardano, which is a kind of like a spinoff from Ethereum. And Ethereum is a spinoff from Vitalik Buterin, who got kicked out of the Bitcoin community back in 2011. And so he got spiteful and created something called Ethereum. And but that's crashing against Bitcoin every single hour of every single day. They changed the model to proof of stake, which is a worthless fiat money clone garbage that's not going anywhere. And so Cardano is even more removed, more abstract, more worthless than even Ethereum. And so this guy, he
we want to show your tweet. There's something, you found something like somebody got trapped in an oil well and they're pulling him out, and you wrote, Rich Hoskinson emerges from his shitcoin lair.
Yeah.
I'm a comedian, so I love good shit talking, and I love good.
Yeah. So we had this thing. I mean, he's being pulled out of a hole. This guy covered in oil or whatever. And I wrote this tweet like, here he is. He's being pulled out of his shitcoin lair. Then he wrote back, and he said something like, it's not a lair. It's some French word for cave.
Yeah.
And then I wrote back and I said, oh, well, with Charles is confirmed. In fact, that's not his lair. It's actually his mom's vagina.
I saw that.
So this is his mom's vagina. And there he is being birthed into the shitcoin land from, the vaginal shitcoinery, where, it was Safdina Moose who said that Ethereum is the asshole from which all shitcoins come from. And he said this on the Lex Fridman show. Lex Fridman is autistic, I guess you could say, and to the point of being almost completely he's articulate to the point of being inarticulate, right? Mm-hmm. He's smart by half. Like he tends to wrap his phrases in ways that end up not making much sense. But nevertheless, so he's trying to grok Bitcoin with, of course, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, Safdina Moose, and Safdina came up with this idea that Ethereum came from the asshole. So Cardano would be a hemorrhoid on the asshole that produces Ethereum, right? So you've got all these hemorrhoids on the asshole of Ethereum, which are all these proof of stake coins, like XRP or Ripple. This is another hemorrhoid on the asshole of shitcoinery. You've got the standard list of these ridiculous coins that all have an initial pop, and then they go all trade to zero against Bitcoin. They're all going to zero against Bitcoin.
That's something a Bitcoin Maxi told me to look for. He goes, here's how you can tell how most of these coins are scammed. They had one pump.
Right.
And that was like, they don't keep pumping. They don't come up and down like a regular market would do. They have one pump.
That's it.
And that's when they're complete scams that were pumping ups. And I was like, wow. So one of the things I wanted to put back on the screen was then this person thought they burned you because they're like, you created the Maxcoin. Maxcoin inspired altcoin makes its debut. So it's like, so what they're trying to say is Keiser tried a shitcoin and he failed, and that's why he's a Bitcoin Maxi or whatever. So why don't you explain to our audience here what, in fact, was the Maxcoin and the purpose of the Maxcoin?
Right. So we had, when I was doing Keiser Report, we made the comment that it's easy to create a shitcoin. Anyone can create a shitcoin. You can do it in 5 minutes. So we got contacted by these two students at Bristol University in the UK, one of which was a guy named Crypto Cobain, who now goes by the handle Kobe, who's a famous shitcoiner, and this other guy who I'll think of his name in a second. So they come on and they create this shitcoin live on air. It's like, this is how you do it. And they do it. And so they call it, Max, right? Because it's on my show. Sure. And so this is my involvement in this project, is that we demonstrated how easy it is to create a shitcoin. So now, here we are 12 years later, and people are still like whinging about this and trying to, concoct some conspiracy theory about it. It's like, This is a shitcoin. It was an original issue shitcoin. It's a proof you can create a shitcoin. The guy who created it is a notorious shitcoiner who lives in the world of shitcoinery. And so that's not, you're just proving the point that this is all shitcoinery and this is just another shitcoin.
This is the thing I love. And this is where the internet gets dumb.
Yeah.
Is then it's so easy to go, someone will say, oh, Max Keiser had his own coin.
Yeah.
You can just go online really quickly. In about 7 minutes, I can go, oh, yeah, he did it on his show and explains everything you just said. But most people just go, oh, he's full of it. We caught him. And it's like, no, you did not.
Well, I mean, at the time, there was Kanye coin.
Right.
There was Bill Murray coin. And because I think this was 2013 or 2014, when shitcoins were a real novelty, and the danger of them was not as obvious as it started to become. And what started to become more obvious as you went into the 2016 period, 2017 period, and what were called the ICOs, the initial coin offerings. And so, as a former stockbroker myself, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. These are actual securities. When you do a pre-sale of an ICO, and then with the expectation of people then having an additional subsequent sale and profiting from that sale, you have expectation of profiting from the issuance of what isn't therefore an unregistered security. And having worked on Wall Street and under the legal auspices of the SEC for many years, and having a broker's license and studying, the Securities Act of 33 and 34, and looking at case studies of what happens to people who go against the SEC. The SEC never loses. They have all the time in the world. They have all the money in the world. And anyway, so this is when I started to sound the alarm on shitcoins and became more of a maximalist, because it's like, okay, it was a fun dish. It was a fun time initially, but now it's, this is going to come back to bite everybody in the ass, because these are unregistered securities, and I know the SEC well enough. And I was at an event called Satoshi Roundtable at the time, which was in Cancun, Mexico. It's a pretty well-known event with a lot of well-known people in the business, and they were trying to say that we know better than the SEC. The SEC is behind the times. The SEC needs to change the law. The SEC is not as smart as we are. I'm like, no, you don't get it. The SEC will shut all these down, and a lot of you are going to go to jail. So Kwon Do or Do Kwon and others, famous people, eventually ended up going to jail, doing shitcoinery, because they got addicted to this idea that they're bigger and better than the SEC. But the SEC is now winning. And I'll say with XRP Ripple, this is another project that's going to end up going to zero, because the SEC doesn't want it to exist. And you read the trolls on Twitter about, oh no, we have all these lawyers and we're taking the SEC to court, and they have all these arguments, but they don't get it. The SEC doesn't follow the law. They're not in there to adjudicate what's right and what's wrong. They're there to protect the cartel of Wall Street. And the cartel of Wall Street, they cannot stop Bitcoin. Gary Gensler has said as much. It's unstoppable. It's they would love to stop it if they could, but they can't, because it's perfectly decentralized in a way that nobody can attack. Whereas Ripple is not. Ripple is highly attackable, right? And they're attacking it, and they will continue to attack it until it goes away, because that's their agenda and that's their objective. And it's not going to work. And you see it in the price action. The price action is terrible. All these shitcoins go to zero against Bitcoin. Eventually, as you say, they get a pop. They get a nice, little pop, and everyone pretends like they made some money on that pop. They end up losing money on that pop. I mean, it's exactly the same mentality as Las Vegas, of people who are addicted to gambling. These are gambleaholics, people who trade in shitcoinery. I started a thing called Shitcoiners Anonymous, where people can go to recover from their shitcoin addiction. And this guy, BitBoy, who's a guy who is a poster child for shitcoin-aholicism. Like, he lost his car, he lost his wife, he lost his house, he lost all of his money because he's addicted to shitcoin like an alcoholic or a drug addict. He cannot stop shitcoining, and he's losing it all. It's going all the way down to the bottom. And he should go to Shitcoins Anonymous and beg forgiveness from Satoshi and accept Satoshi as his like God or something, to get himself out of this mentality of shitcoining, and everybody in that space is essentially like a gambler in Las Vegas. And the way that gambling works in Las Vegas is that the emotional high from losing is a bigger dopamine kick than winning.
Oh yeah. They're addicts.
People are addicted to losing.
The addicts want to go belly up. They
Right.
want to lose it all and be sitting in the casino going, "Oh God, I lost it all."
Yeah, because it's, I'm a victim.
Yep.
Feel sorry for me, and also the emotional buzz from losing. Again, the dopamine, the stress, the high, whatever, comes from losing. It doesn't come from winning. Most people who trade in the stock market have a similar phenomenon. If you trade in the stock market, if your stock's up, you feel like, okay, good, I bought it to go up. It's up. I'm happy. If it's down, you're like, oh no, what do I do? I'm panicking. You get all emotionally fritzed out, and you end up selling. It's your emotions are what kill you in all of these situations that involve risk taking, like in the stock market.
It's a chaos addiction. And the other thing too, I found this out. This is why I love Bitcoin Maxis. There's a Bitcoin meetup I started going to in Los Angeles, and I was talking to this woman there who helped organize it, and she was like, "Graham, I worked for a company that she goes, I knew all these like BitBoy crypto were scam artists because I saw their rate card." She worked for some influencer or social media marketing company or something like that. What the rates were, these guys were getting paid, some cases 30, 40, 50, $100,000 to do an ad read for these shit coins. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting there and you're watching, and I'm like, I remember that, I'm fairly new into the crypto space. I came in about 2019 and made the mistake of thinking crypto and Bitcoin were the same. And I'd watch some of these shows. And then you were one of the people that really helped me become a Bitcoin maxi. But I remember watching when I first was new, it was like, I don't know. And like, oh, this BitBoy crypto, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. And he's like, oh, there's this big project, XRP. And you're, oh, cool. I found out, 3-4 months ago that they paid him. He was doing a goddamn ad read. So it's all a scam. I was like, totally. You guys are just like the banks. You're just like some celebrity going, what's on your wallet?
They recreated the whole fiat money nightmare.
Yeah.
With shitcoins. And also the thing about it is that they refuse to believe that these are unregistered securities, and it's illegal to promote unregistered securities. It's illegal to sell unregistered securities, but it's equally illegal to promote unregistered securities. So what BitBoy is doing is illegal under the SEC. That's why I believe he's got a lawsuit hanging over his head from some regulator because he's engaging in illegal activities. And he has something, he says, an astronomical monthly legal bill, which isn't going to get any better. And this is really the lesson that people learn over and over and over again. There's the wisdom is never passed on from one group to the next. Every single new group that comes along has to learn the exact same lessons all over again. All the way going back to Charles Ponzi to the present day, every 5 or 6 years, there's a new group of suckers that get mowed down by the pros in some speculative market. And you see it in the stock market, of course, over and over again. You see the penny stock market. You see in the Canadian mining, Canadian miners, gold and silver miners are notorious for starting companies based on two guys standing around a hole in the ground saying they just discovered 1 million ounces of silver. And then they go public and they cash out and then they're gone and you never hear from them again. That goes on over and over and over again. So it's exactly the same thing with shitcoins. It's just like this is what we do at the Bitcoin office is to stop big shitcoiners from coming into El Salvador, because what they do is they end up taking a photo with somebody in the government. It could be like a guy whose job it is to wash the mining equipment or something for the government, anybody, but they have like a government seal on their uniform. They could be like the trash collector in San Benito, but they're government employees maybe, and they have like a seal of the government. So some shitcoiner stands with them and says, the government loves this shitcoin. And there's a guy smiling with a broom, that guy who's making all the noise. You could be just smiling and just like, ha, 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 ha. And so they put that on the internet, and then suddenly something that's worth nothing, it's worth 0.0000001 is now worth 0.0001. The people dump it, cash out, and then they just go to the next ridiculous shit.
You really see the scam of it. You really see the if I just mine my own coin or whatever, and I've got 10 million of these things.
Yeah.
and I just do what you do. I take a picture with somebody or whatever, or like, hey, I got married a stripper in Vegas. I made the Graham Elwood strip poker coin, and it just goes up 0.1% or whatever. Now, or it goes to a penny or whatever. Right. Now I have millions of dollars.
Right. I cash out. So I move on. Same thing with ICOs. ICOs sold to in the pre-market of their ICOs for millions, $500 million, or like EOS. EOS was one that's pre-sold, excuse me, in the billions, and then they skipped down, and it was just a total fraud. And but there's a guy named Dan Larimer. So, give me a little history of the shitcoin business. He's launched, I think, no less than 3. He's like the master of the shitcoinery, going back really 10, 11 years. He's one of the kings of shitcoinery. He's played it smart though, because no one really knows his name that much, but he's done several big time pump and dumps shitcoin. But anyway, so with El Salvador, because it's so famous now as Bitcoin country, people also engage in what's called orange washing. So you go to a site that'll say, we love Bitcoin, we're Bitcoiners. And then you go to their site, you start following them, and then it turns out it's an ad for shitcoin. So it's just like ExxonMobil. They like to have an ad showing how lush and green the forest is and how green they are. They take everything from Greenpeace and they cut and paste it against their advertisement, and it's like, we love birds, we love animals, and they're like making out with a hamster or something.
Yeah, they're making out with a hamster.
And then at the end it's like ExxonMobil. It's like, oh, I didn't know ExxonMobil.
And it's that same shot of the windmill, the wind turbines, and some solar farm. Yeah. And they go, we're spending, and sometimes they'll even say the dollar amount out loud, which is always funny. Like, we're spending over 10 million a year. I'm like, this is a $200 billion company. Yeah. That's like saying we're spending 53 cents a year on green energy.
It's like you look in a vending machine and somebody left a quarter. And you're like, wow.
That bag of chips that's
I'm a winner.
Big winner.
Yeah.
So to people watching the show, and if you're new, well, if you're an experienced Bitcoiner, make sure you have your friends come watch shows like this we want to get you out of the shitcoin nightmare. We want to get you out of the I've fallen for it, and a lot of new people fell for it.
Shitcoiners Anonymous meeting.
I went to a Shitcoiners Anonymous meeting. I made my step 9 to Litecoin.
So that's called greenwashing.
Right.
Right. And then you have blue washing, which is the United Nations. So the United Nations will show up and they'll be peacekeepers, but they have a lot of weapons and they shoot people.
Yeah.
But that's blue washing. So then there's orange washing.
Right.
Which, by the way, the guy who told me about orange washing is Corey Clipston from Swan. And Swan is a sponsor of this show. If you go to swan.com/orange pill, you get $10 free Bitcoin immediately. If you register with Swan. And why not register with Swan? They're the greatest Bitcoin company, only company in the world is Swan Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Orange pill is the promo code. You get $10 free Bitcoin. What could be better than that?
Let me just bring up the web. There it is right there. Yeah. Take the orange pill. So if you just go to swan.com/orange pill, you get, they're a Bitcoin only exchange. It's the thing about Swan, Bitcoin only.
Yeah, so Bitcoin only company, you can buy Bitcoin there. And they promote you to take self-custody.
Yes.
So you can exchange your dirty fiat money for Bitcoin at swan.com. And then you can take it off their site and put it into a wallet of your choosing, self-custody.